Hi, it's Del Jackson. Sunday night, LLhoops. Eagles are playing late, so we're gonna get this thing in. We're waiting for the Eagles. Hopefully they win. And we have a special January, beginning of the year version tonight. We have some LL refs, and they're gonna talk about the life of an LL ref. They're gonna talk about some new rules. They're gonna talk about some regulations, and we'll get a different view. I mean, the guys that are working these games are products of the LL in many ways, and they'll tell you their own stories. But I've found personally, Rocky, and you'll probably find this too, is the games are refereed so much better when you're not sitting on that bench or standing on that bench walking back and forth. I really believe that. It's really, really good. So we'll start. We got Tom Eberly, and Tom is the rules interpreter for the LL Refs Association, and we got Brian Wiggins, and he is the president. So we'll start with Brian. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do for the chapter and how long you've been reffing, and any basketball background.
Sure. Brian Wiggins, as Del said, president of the Lancaster-Lebanon basketball officials. I've been an official now for just my 21st season. This is my third year as the president. I started refereeing when I was 28. I was playing basketball through high school, through my sophomore year. Then I stopped to focus on baseball and pitching. I was playing men's leagues after that, and then my last year playing men's league, I blew up my left ankle and took an elbow to my cheekbone, and my wife said, "I think you're done playing." So I started refereeing and have loved it ever since. To me, it's a way to stay involved in basketball. I love the sport. And it's great seeing players from third grade through the high school, senior season, see how they develop. And it's also interesting to see too, some of the players who are the all-stars at 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade may not be the best player when it comes to junior, senior year. Kids develop at all different ages and different speeds. So it's really fun to see them develop and grow over those years as players.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's one of the things. When I had a son, and you guys, Rocky and Tom, can relate to this. We used to go to rec games, and the referees would be there, and they would talk, and you would get a different feel for how things are at that level, and the kind of back and forth with the refs, and I'll ask you guys a little bit later, but I know a lot of the times the seniors, they'll pat you on the butt and say, "Yeah, well, better call next time," or you missed that one or something like that. It just kind of comes with age. I watch that on the NCAA too. It's like the older guys can get away with a little bit more because they know there's a little respect there. All right, Mr. Eberle, you're on, buddy.
All right, thanks. Appreciate you having us. Tom Eberle, I'm the rules interpreter for the LL League. I took over for an icon, Mel Newcomer, who was, rules interpreter for over 30 years. This is my third year being a rule interpreter. I've been reffing now for 24 years. Love it. People say, you have to have thick skin, but yeah, you do, but it's sort of a stress relief for me, to believe it or not. I love running up and down the floor, making split-second decisions. We're very fortunate in the LL League that our coaches are very good. They'll get on you, but, sometimes rightly so. But they're willing to listen, and that's a big part of it. As long as the official is willing to have some dialogue. We can't all the time, but at times it does get heated. But for the most part, they're looking out for their kids. Like I said, I have like Wiggs reffed anything from first, second graders on up through, and like he said, it's pretty neat to see the kids grow and develop, and then you get to see them in their high school years, and they sort of remember you. That's a pretty neat thing. It's a great league. I grew up playing in the league. I played for Dave Aldhouse, so he was a legend coach. Couldn't have got better coaching there. So actually, and I started in coaching myself with Wes Soto, another icon in the league, and Doug Bohannon. We were all on the staff together up at Elko, and then once I stopped coaching, I actually just joined in the refereeing and been doing it ever since. It's a great way to stay in shape and a great way to stay in the game.
That's awesome. Hey, we'll have some pointed questions for you here in a little bit. I want to welcome Rock. How you doing, Rock?
Hey, good. Excited for this one. We did our referee podcast a couple of months ago on our coaching podcast. Hopefully that was well received. I don't know if either of these guys listened to it, but I think the whole talk, dialogue about officials and how that relates to coaching, I think is very interesting that not a lot of people tap into. So, we had a lot of people listen to our podcast a couple of months ago about that, and anxious to have some more good dialogue tonight.
Good. All right, let me start with Tom, since he's the rules interpreter. And I always, in the beginning of the year, usually in December, when we have tip-off tournaments, I usually go up and talk to the refs if I'm at a game, and I'll introduce myself. And I know some of the old timers and some of the new guys just look at me and say, "Who the heck's that?" And usually I say, "Hey, that dude down there in the middle, he's a terrible ref. Don't listen to him." And they just look at me cross-eyed, and it's pretty good. But I always ask in the beginning of the year if there's any new rules. So let's start with Tom. And Tom, is there anything major going on or anything minor that everybody's going to look at or watch on live stream, LLhoops live stream, and say, "What the heck was that all about?" Go ahead, Tom.
Really, there's nothing majorly new. The real main thing that people might recognize is when a player fouls out, let's say, you have a horn at the beginning of that. The coach has 15 seconds to replace it. Now, not only is there a horn at the beginning of it, but when that 15 seconds expires, that player better be up and ready to go in, because there's a second horn after the 15 seconds. That's a new thing this year for the timer to keep track of as well. So there's a horn at the beginning to start the replacement time period, and then there's a horn after that 15 seconds to complete that. And what's supposed to happen is if that player is not ready and at the table to check in, the team draws a technical foul. But like I said, for the most part, coaches, unless they're really perturbed at the particular call, they have that player ready to go in that 15-second time period. It's really for the coaches who try to get that extra time out.
I know when I coach, I would never do that. I know Rocky would never do that.
No, they won't push the issue. That's
no. But let me ask you this on that rule though, because I'm curious. So yes. You go over and you say number 20 has the fouls, and the guy says, "Hey, that's 5 on him." And then you say start the clock, right? So the first horn, there's a horn when you say start the clock.
Correct.
And then they put 15 on their timer, wherever that is. And then there's a second horn. So by that time, the kids should be at the table, but you guys still got to wave them in, or they just run in and say?
Yeah, we bring them in. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a rough 15 seconds, but.
Yeah. Is there anything else, Tom?
Not really. They did, for some of the people, that like a running clock, if a team is ahead in the second half by a wide margin, they bumped that down. Well, they reduced it down to 30 points. So it's a 30-point lead now instead of 40.
30 in the second half? In
the second half, right, with the running clock for a mercy rule. And really nothing else really came out as far as new rules this year. There's some other minor things, language in the rules book, but other than that, that's about it. So.
Okay, before I go to Brian, let's go back to Tom. It's like, okay, so you're the rules interpreter. What do you have to do in order to be the rules interpreter for the LL guys? I mean, what meetings do you have to go to? How does that work? I mean, right now we're all Zoom meetings, but how does it work normally?
Well, normally we have set up 9 meetings during the season. So as far as a referee is concerned, they have to attend. There's a league-wide rules meeting where new rules are discussed, some changes, language, things like that. And coach has been involved in those many times, where coaches and officials come together. They might have a separate meeting, and then we all come together, and I might give a half hour of new rules, any rule changes, any questions answered, things like that. So that's a mandatory meeting that coaches and officials have to attend, and we attend that together. And then after that, to keep our certification, we have you have to attend 6 additional meetings throughout the basketball season, if you will. So typically lately we've been having those at Manheim Township High School, but now with Zoom and the COVID issues, it's sort of been nice actually. We can do all our meetings through Zoom, and we'll go over video. Coach is one that is always gracious in sending his game clips through Huddle to us. That's been a great advantage for us. I think we've grown a lot by use of Huddle. I think that's an awesome tool. My job basically is Wiggs will start the meetings. Rick Hartle, who is our assigner, might say a few words. Some other people might have some things to say, but then I'll run anywhere from half hour to 45 minutes. We'll talk about different topics, block charge. We might talk about traveling. So I'll try to pick out topics that are, I guess, harder to discern maybe, if you will, or that something that might came up during the week, and we got that video. I might throw it up on the screen and say, hey, let's take a look at this. Let's all learn from it. It's not to be critical. My job, I always say, in my opinion, yes, I'm the rules interpreter. I know the book, I know the rules book very well. However, I'm all for people chiming in and adding, their, experience as well, because, you can always learn. So.
Yeah. Okay, let's switch over to Brian. I have some general questions about Brian, about the association. I want to know, I was going to take the test and I had to join an association, and then I have to do this and I have to do that. So tell me the process of you being the president, what it's all about to join the association, the recruitment of referees, and basically what your job is as the president of the association.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Del. Yeah. To become an official, there's different ways you can go about that. You can go to the PIAA website and go to a link to learn about how to become an official. You can also go to our website, www.LLbbo.org, and we have a button you can click there. It kind of walks you through the process to become an official. It goes through frequently asked questions. It gives you a step-by-step checklist of what steps you have to go through to become an official, schedule to take the test with the PIAA. Once you get a passing result, then you can it gives you steps to reach out to. Reach out to Mike Kuhn, our secretary, to join the chapter. We require you to pay a fee to join the chapter. So official has to pay a PIAA yearly fee per sport, and also a chapter fee as well. And then once you're set up with that, we then, when I first started refereeing, there virtually was no training involved at all. It was like you took it upon yourself to go watch officials. Like my first year officiating, I passed the test in October. In December, I did no games. I went and watched officials. I didn't watch a game, I watched officials, and kind of picked up different things for each official applied to my game. Now we have a very extensive training program. This year was a little bit different as far as summer training, because we usually have training all throughout the summer. Mm-hmm. We do training in summer leagues at Hempfield. We have summer camps over at Millersville through their girls program there. And we also have training in the fall. This year we didn't have any on-site training, which makes it difficult for new officials. But what we did this year to try kind of change pace a little bit is we did 25 trainings every Sunday and Wednesday through the summer via Zoom, through a variety of topics. And that was well received by our chapter. We encouraged all new officials to join, and there's lots of veteran officials who joined all the meetings as well. And we recorded those as well. So if you missed a meeting, you can go back and log in and view it later on. So we've done a much better job in the last 20 plus years of training new officials, using different tools to be able to break down plays, that kind of stuff. As Tom alluded to earlier, the addition of Huddle has been huge for us. It's probably a lot of coaches don't realize we use Huddle all the time. We break down plays. A lot of guys have small groups they pass plays around to. They'll send they have played in their game. They may send it to a group of 5 other officials and talk about it, and get their opinions on a call. What I find to like about it is if I have a tough call in that game, I can go home that night or the next morning and look at it in slow motion and kind of see if I had to call right or not. It's also a tool that coaches can use to better communicate with officials as well. They have time to talk during the game. They can send a clip for us to look at. To me, I encourage that, because I don't mind talking to a coach about a clip. I mean, that's how we all learn and how we all get better. Because during a game, you may have the opportunity to talk, you may not have the opportunity to talk to that coach. Depends how things work out timing wise. I try to talk to the coach if I can during the game. If not, try to reach out to me afterwards. But huddle and being able to send clips or little segments of a clip is huge for us. As Tom alludes to, we use that in meetings to break down plays as well. My role in the chapter is to be an advocate for the officials and also try to improve the chapter as far as how we officiate games. Try to improve things with coaches as well, communication channels, using huddle and other tools helps us do that. I've also met with other coaches in the off season, try to talk through things to better improve communications, better improve relationships as well. To me, that's my main role, is really to be advocate for officials, but also try to better the overall level of officiating for the chapter, but also improve communication channels with the officials, with the league, and also the coaches.
Nice.
As a more administrative, I run the meetings as far as opening the meetings, as far as cover administrative topics, as Tom alluded to, then pass it on to him to actually run the rules portion of the meeting itself.
Okay, cool. Hey, I want to do this. I'm going to pass it off to Rock to see the questions that he has, but I do want to let both Tom and Brian and everybody that's watching our show tonight. We've been averaging a real decent amount of people that are looking at this, so maybe they're just not basketball out there yet, and that's a good thing for us. But on the show tonight, when you guys get it back on the website, I do have a link to the Lancaster-Lebanon Basketball Association. So your picture will be there, and there's a link to that. And there's also a link for the LL refs on LLhoops underneath one of the menus. So we do have the ability to at least get somebody started if they're interested in that. And then to be honest with you guys, I look at that to get some information for you guys so I could contact you. So that's a really nice feature that you guys have some emails available and we could reach out and get a hold of you. So I'll turn over to Rock. Rock, what do you got, buddy? We'll just throw it open.
Yeah, so I think what people are going to want to tune into and what they're going to want to hear isn't necessarily the stuff that they see when they come to a game and see how referees are interacting with coaches and see how coaches are acting and seeing how referees are acting. I think what would be interesting is to talk about what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, Brian just mentioned about, film that they review, and I'm not sure the average fan realizes that, a coach can be upset and send them a clip and, have them look at it again. I mean, these guys all take the time to review it. They take what they do seriously. And I think that is something really important for the general fan to know out there. Because I'm sure a lot of those people think that they just go home and, they never worry about it or never think of it again. But, I know for a fact that referees go home and think about the game just like the coaches go home and think about the game. And, I think the way that, I look at referees is my evolving from a player to an assistant coach to a junior high coach to an AAU coach to a head high school coach, and how I thought about referees, and it ultimately culminated, like Tom, like he said, he's the rules interpreter, and I said it before we started going online. I never sent clips. I never wanted to complain. I never wanted to send clips. We started out the year 1-3. We were supposed to be really good last year. We obviously went 15-3 from that point on, but we started out 1-3. I was super frustrated. And I just started sending Tom some clips about some inconsistencies that I thought I saw between the way that the game was being reffed, on both sides of the floor. And I think from a coaching standpoint, we need to look at everything and realize mostly the issue is us and the issue is our coaching. The issue is our players. It's not the referees. But it was really good for me to have communication with Tom last year. And I sent him some pretty intense text messages, and I think he understood, where I was coming from. I was frustrated. And I don't know if it did any good, but, I thought it was awesome, Tom, the way that you handled that last year. And it really helped me, get some stuff off my chest without it being detrimental to me or my team. But I think the good part about that, Tom, was it happened after, while we weren't on the floor. And I think that is a good thing. So why don't you guys just, I'll start with Tom. Why don't you talk about, how many coaches do you get clips from? Like, what's the percentage of people that you get clips from? Because I went for 3 years without ever sending one clip or email to then send in, probably 10 to 15 clips last year. Tom, why don't you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Rock. I always appreciated our conversations because, it helped me grow as well, because I think that a lot of things like people don't understand too is, like Coach said, when we go home, I try to forget it at the door sometimes, but a lot of times I'm replaying plays all night and until I can get that clip and look and say, okay, maybe I could have taken this angle. Maybe I could have taken this angle, different things like that. That's the benefit of having huddle. And then if a coach specifically sends a piece of film to us and then has a explanation or a question, that's awesome too. I think it's valuable for me personally, and some other officials do as well, to answer that question to the best of our ability. Coach might not agree, just like the coach says something to us, we might not agree with what the coach is seeing, but that opens up the line of respect. And coach, as coach said, it was always after the fact. It wasn't usually, the only thing we ever ask of a coach is, you can send the film, but if you have a question or it's a heated situation, wait till the next day. Because both of us, I'm sure if it's a heated situation, we're still haggling it in our heads as well as the coach is haggling it with their heads. But what we'll do then, and coach asked about how many coaches send it. I tell you what, it increases every year. When we got huddle about 4 or 5 years ago on a full-time basis, it was give or take 4 or 5 coaches. But I bet you now on a regular basis, we get, oh gosh, I bet you 2/3 of the league sends us in. Would you agree, Wiggs? I think
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, about 2/3, which is awesome.
I still think it's more people sending more teams sending videos in than actual coaches sending actual clips in. That's getting more and more each year, which is good.
Right.
As more and more coaches get comfortable with that, because it's definitely a communication tool that coaches see value in, and I also see value in as well.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, we're appreciative of the coaches for reaching out, for sending the videos in, and we're also getting more and more sub-varsity videos as well, which helps our younger officials too to develop and grow. So we've been really, really happy about the coaches' involvement and schools' involvement in sending those clips to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I probably get because I'm rules interpreter, so I get probably some of the personal emails and the specific clips. But overall, we do get all the videos of the whole game. And if a coach sometimes on that piece, if a coach doesn't send me a specific clip, and I know I've been looking at a game film and I really mess one up, sometimes I'll reach out to the coach and say, hey, I messed that play up. And a coach is always appreciative of that as well.
Yeah, there's 2 things that I think I learned as a head coach. The first thing was like, really my first couple of years, I was really, very passive on the officials front. And I don't know if you guys, like, I never realized this, but I don't know if you guys know this, but your players start to get pretty pissed off at you if you're not sticking up for them. If they think they got fouled and you're just like, oh, suck it up, they'll get it on the next call. And I never realized that. And I dealt with, some situations where my kids didn't think that I had their back, and I had to get mad and yell sometimes just to show, I didn't want to, but just to show my kids that I had their back. I was fighting for them. And that was one of the main things that I learned as a head coach. So a lot of times, again, we're talking to the general fan out there. You see a coach carrying on. There's a lot of different reasons that coach could be carrying on. A, does he just not like officials? Yeah, maybe. I mean, realistically, yeah, maybe. B, is he feeling pressure, right? Because his team is 1-3 and they're supposed to be pretty good. Yeah. 3, do his players not think he has their back? Maybe. Or how about this? How about your team's down 8 on a game that you think you should be winning? And how about you get a tech to try to fire your team up? Like, there's so many different reasons that a coach can react negatively to official, that it's not always just what the layman thinks oh, it was just a bad call and that coach is really angry. There could be a lot of different reasons. I never realized that until I was actually, standing up there in games. And the other thing too, I think the main thing the only thing that would frustrate me from an officiating standpoint, and I'll let you guys react to this, was never the bang bang call. The bang bang call, like, they're just difficult. You got to make a decision. You got to move on. The only thing that frustrated me was I felt like inconsistencies, between the way that one player, one team is being refereed as compared to the other team. And that's kind of the stuff that I was sending Tom at the beginning of last year. And I just think it's tough though, because, Brian, like you're talking about, I think immediately of Larry Locker. He was a really tough player to officiate because he was physical, but, he had a short fuse. So I think about him. He played for 4 years, Brian and Tom. And, it's like you talk about seeing a kid grow up from the time he's in 4th and 5th grade. Well, if you're on year 4 of Larry Locker, you know what I mean? Like that might be a little difficult. You know what I mean? So it's like you guys are all talking about the flowers and the roses of grow up. Well, if you're in year 4 of officiating him, that could get tough as well, because you might officiate him a little bit differently than you would officiate a kid who you're just seeing for the first time. So I know I gave you a lot there, but that's just my thoughts. I'm not sure if Tom or Brian had any thoughts about that stuff.
I'll start. As far as when you talk about the consistency, that's something that you battle all the time, because each team, even within our own league, and I coach, maybe you can hopefully attest to this, Section 2, they're going to get after each other. They're going to battle. It's going to be physical. It's going to be, and Section 3 is very similar to that way. Section 4 is starting to come that way. Section 5, not as much. Section 1, not as much. It can be physical, but it's a different type of physical. So you definitely have to go in and know who you're officiating that night, and know the style of play. So the consistency part, you battle yourself with that each and every time. You always, in our pregame, another thing, sometimes the Bayman fan, we try to get there at least, if we can, an hour or so before the game, watch some of the JV game, hopefully watch some of the younger officials, and then go in and talk before the game, and see some of the tendencies of these teams and what they like to run and how they like to play defense, and since Coach is on here, his kids always played hard. They're going to get after you, they're not going to back down. So you have to be aware of those things, because, it can be frustrating to the other team, the opposing team. So you have to, make sure that that's happening. And sometimes it looks like we're not being consistent, but as Coach said, sometimes you have to know who you are dealing with at that time to try to keep the competitiveness in check, if you will.
Yeah.
Like Coach mentioned, his one former player, number 23. So yeah, know the number, but yeah, he was physical, but he was athletic, and he did have a short fuse. So you knew that going in. So you just had to make sure that you were on the same page, and you tried to talk to him a little bit more than maybe you would have to another player. So I don't know, Wiggs, you want to add?
A lot of it is, you alluded to at the very end there, Tom, you using your voice and talking to all these players. As you ref games, guys who have short fuses and who don't. You can kind of talk them through a situation before it escalates. Save them a foul or save them a technical foul, whatever. It's knowing the players, knowing the matchups, knowing the defense, who likes to take charges, how they're coached and stuff like that. Know what kind of offense they're running, like you said too, Tom. You know what to expect as an official. And for us, a lot of times too, it's a term we call cataloging calls. If it's a charge on this end, it better be a charge on this end. If you're going to hand check here, it better be a hand check over here. That's things coaches are looking for as well. We're trying to be consistent as a crew. And then we'll talk about that at halftime. Talk about the first half. We'll see if I see something that I felt, should have been called, it wasn't. We'll talk about that at halftime. They kind of try to tighten things up the second half. But, as a crew, we're trying to do our best to be consistent, because, if I was a coach, that'd be extremely frustrating to me if it wasn't being consistent on both ends of the floor. But the other thing you can battle as well is, as players have their own style, officials have their own style as well. So it's discussing that before a game to make sure you're on the same page going into that game. So you guys can put the best foot forward to call a consistent game on both ends of the court.
Yeah, I think too, the thing that I look at officiating, and I'm going to reference football. I know we're not, football coaches and football officials, but, it's like the holding call in football. You know what I mean? It's like, how many times are you could call a hold every single play. When you're going to pick and choose. And I think like the only relatable, and it's not even that, the only relatable thing to that, like you had said, is the hand checking rule. And I think back to a game, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago in the Mid-Penn when there was like 81 foul shots or something that game, and everybody was losing their minds. But, it's like, at what point, like, are you going to call 15 hand check fouls and then they're just going to keep doing it? So, you know what I mean? So I think that's really, really, really difficult. It's like the holding call in football. I think that's something real because, do you want to muck the game up and blow your whistle every 5 seconds, or do you want to try to help them play through it? I think that can be really difficult. But then I do know of a lot of teams that take advantage of that and say, we're just going to keep doing it. We're going to make them call, 85 fouls on us. I think that's got to be really tough. So that's a lot of, I think, the gamesmanship that goes, between the coaches and the officials that I don't know why you guys do it. Just probably like you're like me and Dell. I don't know why you guys would ever coach, but like you said, it's difficult. And I think, the bang calls, like I said, you get upset about them in the heat of the moment, but again, it's a bang call. Like it's either a charge or a block. You got to make a decision. But it's difficult. It's difficult to do what you guys do. And that's why, I pretty much kept my mouth shut for the most part, other than when I got really emotional or I felt my back was up against the wall. But, I just have a lot of respect for what you guys do.
Appreciate
I
it.
liked what Rocky said, that there's different reasons for coaches to get a little fired up. And I think he hit on some of them. But as our referees know, they know pure when they see it. They know pure venom. And, I think I want to hit on a couple things with that. So I was way back in the old days when we had 2-man crew. Now we're in a 3-man crew. It's like you had 2 guys and you could focus in on 2 guys. Now you got 3-man crew, and it's like there's, as Rocky went to say, it's like, okay, we have different views, not from 2 guys now, but we have different views from 3 guys. So you're kind of like, I do like the high school rule where those guys make the call and they run to the other side. I do like that. The college rule, you got to sit there and listen to the coach bitch at you. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, call it, get out of there, move on. Let me ask this, because I'm very ignorant on that. Do you guys have a rating system in-house? Or I know the coaches at one point had a rating with you guys. How does that work? We'll start with Brian.
Sure. Yeah. Currently, I'll do it in 2 parts here. Currently, we have a rating system between peers. We do that once a year at the end of the season. We'll do a peer rating. What we're working on now and trying to get installed here is to get back to allowing coaches to have input as well. We're trying to get to a place where coaches can rate. Say we do a game, say Tom and I do a game for Rocky on a Tuesday night. Wednesday, we get an email notification that he could then respond, give us a rating for that game, give us comments. It'd be a day later, day after the actual event. And then we're also looking to increase the cadence of our peer ratings as well. And the idea there would be for the coaches and also for the peers, we would gather that data together and then make it available every 3 weeks for officials to see. That way they couldn't say, okay, I did a game Tuesday, here's my rating on a Wednesday evening, okay, I knew it was from Rocky or this coach. That way it's kind of blinded, it's generic feedback as far as how they're doing, and gives them comments so that they can start working on things that based on the feedback they're getting. Is there a trend in the feedback? Mm-hmm. Is there outlier type feedback? They can kind of learn and adjust from that. Because over the years, talking to the newer officials, I get a lot of feedback from them saying they want to have more in-season feedback on how they're doing, where they can improve. Mm-hmm. So therefore, we're working on ways to try to improve that cadence, both from a peer and also from a coach's standpoint. I talked to the boys coaches back in probably late November, and I talked to some of the girls coaches as well to get feedback on a form that we had created. So I modified that, and we're going to try to finalize that this week here and then step on another call with coaches to kind of go over the form, what we're expecting, and answer any questions they have, what the process is going to be, how the information is going to be used moving forward.
That's cool.
So,
That's really good. I mean, it's really good information for people to know. Even I had no clue how the ratings go at this point. I knew at one point it was this, and then it was that, and I kind of got out of it. So it like whatever as far as the ratings. But let me go to Tommy as far as ratings for districts. I think, like, I've seen you at Hershey. I mean, I've seen you at the games, and it used to be you guys weren't allowed to talk. And then I'm sitting next to the interpreter over there, and he's just like, "Why aren't they talking to you?" I said, "I don't know. You got them so afraid that they're not allowed to be professional." And you can tell the guys that are going to get the games. But within the association, I know, like an LL guy's not going to do, Cedar Crest in the finals. That's not going to happen. But how is the selection at the district level, number one? And then number two, within the LL structure to get to a district game, number three.
As Wiggs alluded to earlier, our district and state list is all peer ratings. So at the end of the year, when we rate our peers, you have an average score, and those scores are tabulated. And then our top, I think it's top 30 for districts, top 15 for states. And those names are passed on to the district assigner and then eventually to the state assigner. So that's how those type of playoffs are determined. So it's always the year previous, obviously, that the tabulations are sent to the respective sides, whether you work the girls' side or the boys' side. So that's how those things, all through peer, which it's pretty nice because it's indicative of, working amongst yourselves. Who do you feel is capable, or who do you feel would be well representing the league in those games?
Let me follow up on that.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys do get selected to do district games, do you guys work as a crew? Like, I usually see like the same three guys go to one game, and then I might see them in another game later. Or is it just kind of happens that it's not necessarily a crew at that level? I know in the LL level, it's not crew. It's not, you're working the same dudes all the time. I know that doesn't happen, but it seems a little bit different sometimes at the district level. Or maybe I'm just imagining things, Tommy.
No, you're correct. At the district level, it's the same way. You might work first and second round with the same one person and have a different third, or you might have different partners as you get, work your way through the district tournament, so it just depends on who's available, because we have to put in, you might have a work commitment or another commitment that you can't referee that particular night. Or, the assigner at the district level, they sort of look at the numbers and they try to organize the crews to the best of their ability. Now, we were fortunate in our situation where the assigner knew us fairly well. So we were well represented, but it's a neat thing because you get to work with different guys. But then when you get to the state level, then typically, as you work your way up through the state, then you sort of start working with the same people if you are fortunate enough to make it that far. Right. So,
okay. Dale, just one clarification for the.
Go ahead.
Just one clarification for the state playoffs. There, you have to have worked a district semifinal or a final to be eligible for state playoffs.
Okay. All right.
Good point, Wiggs.
Does it matter what level though? If I do a AA finals at District 3, then I can do 6A in the states.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming the PIAA likes to keep guys pretty close to home. I mean, I know you guys go to different districts, but I don't think you're going out to Pittsburgh to do a game.
No, that's right? Correct.
Okay.
No. We're on the eastern side. Yeah. All
right. Let me follow up the state thing and the district thing, because I've had the privilege of sitting down there on the floor at Hershey. Is there? I have my own feelings, but is there a difference between doing a game in a big arena like Hershey as opposed to doing the LL finals at Manheim Township with 2,000 people sitting there? We'll start with Brian.
Yeah, to me, I actually prefer a more, I guess, a smaller event per se, where you have more people closer together than more spread out. Years ago, we used to have the LL final at Hershey Park. And then went to Township. To me, I enjoy where the crowd's more closer to you and into it. And working at Hershey, there are difference. There's two scoreboards above you per se versus at the ends as well. So it's a little different that way as well. But it's to me like a more confined area per se.
What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I like the closer atmospheres as well, but it's special walking on to the Hershey Park Arena floor. I'm sure as for the teams as well, every kid, that's their goal, and I've been fortunate enough to do that. And it's funny because something that just popped into my head, people, a lot of new refs ask, well, do you get nervous? Every game, every high school PIAA game, my stomach churns until that ball is thrown. And it does sometimes during the game, hopefully not too much, but yeah, you just get nervous. It's like, I'm sure as a coach, you just have that. It's a good nervous, it's a great nervous actually, because you care about it. So
I'm always surprised when we do the games up at Hershey, the semifinals and the finals, and some state games up there as well, that the noise level goes up.
mm-hmm.
I mean, when we're at these smaller gyms, it goes down. It's directed at you. When they're booing, all those boos go up to the top of the ceiling, and all you hear, it's so strange. Like I can hear a coach on press row more than I can hear a coach when I'm in an Anvil Cleona game, and I'm still pretty close to the deal.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I had a quick question, since we're talking about the old Hershey Park Arena, and Dell, you talked about the 3-man crew. What are your thoughts? I mean, you guys obviously reffed when it was just a 2-man crew. I always thought it was a little bit more difficult for you guys, because I feel like since there's an extra referee on the court, you might look at each other a little bit more, expecting the other guy to blow the whistle. Where if it was just a 2-man crew, I think refs are a lot more assertive, because there's only one other guy on the floor. Did that take some time to transition to having that extra referee on the floor? And do you think how big of a benefit is it to have 3 on the floor? Tom, why don't we start with you?
All right. Yes, it does take a while to transition and get used to having that third person on the floor, especially when we first began this process of getting 3 people on the floor. The biggest benefit is the center official, because they can see through from sideline to sideline. When you have the 2, as you referred to earlier, Coach, you have your end line, and then you have your trail, as we call it. And you're sort of boxing in everything. Whereas that center official now can look through the whole play from sideline to sideline. And that is the biggest benefit, is having a third person on that crew, because they can see some of the things that happen in the lane. I mean, I remember being when Coach Dolan was at E-Town, and it was a very physical game, and I know I missed it. A kid probably got hit in the stomach, and I know it was a 2-person crew at the time, and I know I missed it. And Coach Dolan's like, Tom, how can you miss that? And now I think back to that, and I said, oh, that center official, that's where they're. They see those things in the lane that help the overall aspect of the game. So, Wiggs?
Yes, as Tom has noted, to me, it's all about the angles and what you can see. And 2-man crew that you referred to before, Rocky, is there's times you're probably guessing on a call because you have the right set angle, but it appeared to be a foul. As a big guy, play down low in the low post in basketball, I just get frustrated with calls. He pushed him in the back or over the back. Like I didn't touch the guy, so you can see that quantity and quality of contact. Whereas a trail, sometimes you're gonna think it's a foul, but it really wasn't a foul. So it gives us better angles in through a play. The biggest difference is, like Tom said before, it takes a little while to get used to it, where to be. So you're just reacting to a play instead of thinking where you need to be positioned. And trusting your partners, looking at your primary area, repping your primary area, and trusting your partners are going to get what they have to get.
Yeah, I think that's a great explanation. And since we're running low on Dell, do you have something quick?
Well, no, I the one thing, again, just kind of watching the evolution of the 2-man to the 3-man and how things are going. I do want to throw out some kudos to the LL officials, because when we first started, I would go to a game and I would know what official was not going to call a call. And it was always the youngest guy on the staff. There was always a young guy, and then there was two old guys, and the young guy was afraid to make the calls. But that's how it was. I mean, you guys are laughing, but that's how I felt just watching. I wasn't coach anymore. I was just like, okay, I'd hit somebody and say, this guy's not going to call anything. So, but that has gone away, and that's because of people are used to the 3-man, and they're used to, it's your call, you make the call, don't worry about it. And it's not like, what a guy underneath always has to make the call. That's how it used to be on the block charge rock when I was refereeing and coming up. It's like the guy underneath, if there was 2 whistles, the guy out front would look underneath, and the guy underneath would come out with a call. And now a lot of times it's the guy in the middle that's coming out with that call, because he's got a better view. But I just wanted to throw that out, because I see so much more growth into how it's all meshing with the 3-man crew. So I go back to Rock.
Yeah. So, and again, I know you guys are still reffing, so you got to be politically correct here, but just wondering, again, for the general fan out there, everybody, I feel like coaches are always the one, who are airing grievances about referees. And what frustrates you guys about a coach? Like if there's one thing in general that you wish could change with, the relationship of the coach versus the referee, what would that be? Wiggs, we'll start with you.
Sure. Yeah. I think, the point you're kind of alluding to, Rocky, is like, there's some coaches that I know if they say something to me, I know I probably missed it, because they don't say much at all. And there's some coaches that just can't get off of a topic or something. To me, it's a kind of case of, picking your spots. If you have an issue with the call, picking your spots, don't keep dwelling on that call. Because after a while, if it's just constant, it becomes white noise. So it's like, the kind of case of pick your spots, we'll listen to you, and we'll move on. And we're always trying to, improve that communication overall. And likewise, if I kick a call, I'm not going to tell a coach, I'm not going to BS a coach, I'm going to tell him I missed a call. And coaches appreciate that. But I can't tell that coach 5 times a game.
Oh yeah. Then you're going to get a 0 on that evaluation.
I always appreciated that, though. because I talked about this in our early retirement podcast. But if a referee would just come up and just be like, "Sorry, Rock, I missed that one," like, what am I going to say? Like, that kind of shuts it down. But you're right, if that happens over and over again, but it doesn't. I mean, but I think that was always good. And a good buddy of mine that I played with in college, Bob Parambo. He was an official for the Mid-10 in college, and he's a great ref. And he always talked to me about that. He's like, I'm just blatantly honest. If I miss something, I tell him I missed it. If I got something right, I tell him I got it right. And I just always appreciated that. So, what about you, Tom?
Yeah, very very similar to Wiggs. My personality pretty much is pretty easygoing. So it takes a lot to get under my skin. But if you have something to say it, and let's move on. Let's keep the game going. And I'll make mistakes, and we'll just move on. Let's keep playing. Let's make the game go forward, because if you remind me back from the first quarter and you bring it back up in the third, and I'll be like, I don't remember that. Because that's one thing I try to do is. Yeah, I'll remember it later. Don't trust me. If I blew it, I'll definitely remember it later. Or even if I got it right and I check it out later, either way, that's one thing I try to do.
What about fans? Did you guys ever toss a fan? Like, what does a fan need to do?
Yeah, I only ever tossed one fan, Rocky, and that was a summer league game over at Millersville. When after I tossed the fan, and when we started the game, so the fan was gone, the crowd actually applauded. But I felt bad for the girl in the court. She was mortified.
Yeah.
She was mortified because it was her dad. But no, to me, the fans itself, that's games management responsibility. If I'm worried about a fan, I'm not reffing the game. I need to focus on the game.
I know. I want to get into one thing, and Rock, you and I can kind of relate to this a little bit. is we're taking these kids as coaches, and we're, you know, I'm going to say something bad. We're trying to make them killers. We're trying to make them very aggressive, very get after people. You know, you run through a wall. You've heard that. You know, dive on the floor. You've heard that. And it's like sometimes it's hard to pull them back. Coach Schlosser said that the other day about you and another player. It's like, you know, I want guys that are really aggressive into it, and then we get into a game and guys are, you know, sometimes just garbage happens, and it's up to the refs to sort it out. And then you got two coaches over there hollering and screaming, and it's the players. And I always told my players back in the day, I said, look, I said, have you ever missed a foul shot? And they looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, I want to know if you ever missed a foul shot. And the kid would say, well, yeah. I said, so don't you think those guys out there ever miss a call? It's like, they're going to miss a call and you're going to miss a foul shot. So, you know, you just got to deal with it. It is what it is. I'm going to end like this, Rock. I'm going to go down, and I got a couple great ref stories, but I'm going to tell one here in a minute. So we'll start with Tom, and we're going to go good, bad, ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly of being a ref. Go ahead, buddy.
The good is the camaraderie you get with the fellow officials and the coaches. I tell you what, there's nothing beats that. The bad, probably, I might get in trouble for this, but sometimes the moms are worse than the dads out in the stands. But but Wiggs said, you try to put that in the background, and because you're trying to focus on the game. The ugly is sending, you know, the worst part, when I feel the worst, is that district game where some team has to end their season.
Yeah.
I know we don't have a say in it, but you're still part of that game. And that might be that last time that kid puts that uniform on, you know, because the percentage of kids playing at the next level is very rare. And congratulations, coach. I know your son is playing at the next level. That's an awesome feeling. But, you know, so that's the ugly part, is when that season ends for that kid.
Cool. Very good. Brian, go ahead, buddy.
I say the good is camaraderie in the relationships, like Tom alluded to. To me, that's the best part of officiating. The bad, I say the bad part for me, I guess, is more personal. I guess is time you spend away from family. I mean, it can be a lot. I mean, I remember years where I left every day but 2 days in January. So you kind of pick and choose as your kids get older and that kind of stuff. You officiate less. The ugly is when you have to do a game and it's like, you know, a team's losing by 40 points and you have to kind of keep the game going. It's tough to stay focused as an official. That's the ugly part, because and then if you have a team that's up by 40 and they're still pressing. Yeah. That to me is like the ugly part. Then you start calling ticky-tack fouls and tell the coach, pull them off, or I'm going to keep calling fouls. I mean, so that part's where you lack perspective and knowing when to call the dogs.
Well, the new rule changes, so you only have to do that after 30. So it's a little bit quicker this year.
There you go.
Rock, I'll give you a shot. The good, the bad, and the ugly from the coach's point of view to a referee. Go ahead, bub.
Well, man, I gotta say this one. I'm gonna give you an ugly story. And this is the game that last year that I had texted Tom about. We lost at the buzzer to Cedar Crest at home last year. And poor Rick Dissinger, I chased him into the referee locker room and I was yelling at him. And Rick, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, man. It was very emotional. I had a lot of pressure on me. You know, it just happens. You know, when you get passionate, competitive people, there's going to be ugly situations that arise, and that was one I feel bad about, you know, to this day. But you know, the good of it is, you know, I know it's a broken record with the camaraderie, but I mean, I can't tell you, all these guys, you know, would come up to me before the game. Hey, how's the family doing? You know, if the 1 year Ryan was hurt, how's your son doing? I know he hurt his ankle. Like, you know, a lot of just stuff like that. Like they really care about you. And I hope that, you know, they saw that from our end too. So I'll just go with the good and the ugly.
No bad.
Yeah, no bad.
All right. I'm not even going to go good, bad, and ugly, but I'm going to tell two referee stories. That's what I'm going to tell. That's how I'm going to end this here. So I coached at Donegal, and going back to Tom's thing, I coached at Penn Manor too. So there is a huge difference between the style of play in section 1 and the style of play in 3 and sometimes 4 and 5. It's amazing. And the difference that I had to deal with for prepping the kids and it's like, well, that's a foul. No, it's not a foul. You know, it's like, well, it's not it's just a different world. You know, you got 15 kids total, you got nobody to practice with. And it's like, if your best guy fouls out, you just might as well just, you know, shake hands and hit the door and say, make it 2-0 in the scorebook. You know, that's what I want to do. So anyway, I got 2 stories. I got some Penn Manor stories. I got 2 stories from Donegal. So I don't remember where we were. I think we were playing E-Town. And it was my first year there, or my second year, and I had an assistant, and Kenny Guy, and he got a little fired up at places, and he was on the refs. He was just on them and on them and on them, and I was like, oh man. So at one point, I don't know if it was a timeout or what, Tommy Brandt comes over to me, and I watched Tommy Brandt when he played in high school, so we had a pretty good relationship. And the dude led the, I don't know if he'd probably tell you, he led what was all the old Central Penn in scoring. And he got a full ride baseball. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but anyway, he comes over to me and he says, Del, I said, what's the matter, Tom? He says, is that guy an assistant? I said, yeah. He says, well, give him a clipboard and give him something to do. Would you tell him quit hollering at me? I was laughing so bad. I was like, you know, I'm biting my lip. I got to protect my assistant. And as you know, the referees, give him something to do. Give him a clipboard. Make him take charge of something. I'm like, oh, wow. That was pretty good. And then I got another story coming back to Rocky. Poor Rick. I've had Rick a lot, even when I was at Penn Manor. And we were at a tournament in Northern Lebanon. Okay. Now I'll go back to section 1, section 4 and 3. And he got assigned to this game in Northern Lebanon and he did not want to be there. It was so obvious. He's like, I do not want to be here. I want this game over. I want to go home. I should be doing another game. It's snowing. I'm 2 hours away from my home. I mean, it was wild. So he had a bad attitude and I had a bad attitude. And he just said, I've had enough of you. Boom. And that was it. We talked later on about it. He says, I just wanted to go home. I didn't want you hollering at me the whole time and making the game a little bit longer. Oh man. Oh, golly. I got one other story. I can't help myself, Rock. I mean, this was pretty good. Again, I was at Donegal. At Donegal, I got a lot of stories at Donegal, not so much at Penn Manor. I don't quite get that, Rock. So anyway, we're the game, and Terry Farrell. Okay, Terry Farrell has the game, and I had a pretty good relationship with Terry. And we're back there. Donegal used to have a coaching room, and the refs used to dress in the coaching room. Tom, you probably remember that before they moved to the new. Okay, so they were back there, and we're back there. That's our coaching room. So the refs come back, and they're, you know, and I'm like, oh. I said, Terry, I got a problem. He says, what's that, Dale? I said, I got to talk to you. He says, well, what's the problem? I said, well, here's the deal. This was before the bench rule. You could stand up and stuff. I said, we're going against Bill Southward, okay, who won the state championship the year before. Now I'm there like, I said, Terry, I'm telling you, every call, he's going to stand up. Now he's 6'7", and I'm 5'9" on a good day, and he just towers over you. And I feel like I'm getting hosed, you know, back to Rocky's thing, you know, it's like, I feel like it's really bad. It's really bad. And I know I've coached against him and he's competitive. He's a great guy. We're buddies and everything. But I said, I just feel like he gets over on me all the time. And Terry looks at me, smiles a little bit. He says, all right, I understand your concern. Now this was way before the game. We go out. I swear it's the first quarter. Boom, block charge. I mean, he's on him. I'm on him. Bill's up. I'm up. Terry goes, boom, boom. That's the end of it. And he tells that story. You guys can ask him about it, but it was so funny. It put both of us on our asses for the rest of the game. And the game went really well after that. But no, it was really, 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 really good. So, hey, thank you guys for coming tonight. I'll put it on tonight, and then we're going to try to do this every week. And Rocky and I talked about it, and hopefully, Rocky, we can get some people on here next week, and we'll just keep it going. And then if you guys ever, Brian and Tom, if you guys ever want to come back on to, if we have something going on in the middle of the season, if you guys want to, come in for 15 minutes and explain, I know you guys remember there was a call up in Northern Lebanon, like a 1 second on the clock, the shot went off,
Yep.
the buzzer didn't go off, and it was like, all sorts of goofiness was going on, and I had the videos, and that's a weird thing. People send me videos. I'm like, what do you want me to do about it? That game's over. I can't change the damn video. I did that at McCaskey, and I think it was Coatesville last year. I mean, I'm down there, and I had the ref had a block charge, and I'm on a baseline, and I'm there like a block charge. Oh boy, you should have seen all the garbage I got. It's like, that was not a block, and then I would get, yes, it was a charge. And I'm like, I just did the video. I'm not interpreting the rules here, fellas. I'm not rooting for one team or the other. So anyway, thank you guys. I know it's starting here. The high school's starting, and good luck to you. Oh,
Thank you.
One other thing I need to ask before we leave, I'll go with Tom. The mask issue. I know you guys have talked about it. How are we going to deal with that?
That is a administrative issue. We are, we're told not to deal with that. That's totally up to game management and the coach. So that's how we're going to approach it as well.
Well, you're going to have to deal with it, because those masks going to be flying off, and people are going to be pulling them and all that stuff. So, I mean,
now, if it falls off, for example, if it falls off during a play, the play continues. Next dead ball, they go back and put it back on. We're not going to stop a play because a mask falls off, but
Right.
they're going to put it. They're going to, that's the protocol we have to go by. And so once that dead ball, put it back.
What if there's a safety issue, like the thing sit at half court and there's a fast break, and it's like, oh, that kid stepped on that and he's gonna flying.
Now it's sort of like a shoe tie, in my opinion. If a shoe's untied, we can't stop it just to tie the shoe. So unfortunately, that's part of what we got to deal with this year. And
then how about you guys? Will you guys have masks on or
yes,
not?
we have masks on for all LLs, and that's mandated as well.
Yeah.
So.
Players, coaches, officials, bench personnel, fans.
How about the whistles?
Underneath the mask.
Underneath the mask.
Yep, underneath the mask. That's how I've been doing it. And they even have a special mask now that has like a little cup for it, and you can stick the whistle right in the mask. But most of them, you just stick it right underneath. It's a little uncomfortable, but hey,
well,
you get to do the game.
You guys got to play, and the kids got to play with it.
Right.
And we'll have to deal with it as well as media. So, hey, again, thank you. Let's have a great season. You guys are welcome back anytime. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Brian. And thank you, Rocky.
Thanks, guys.
You guys keep doing yours. Rock, I enjoy your podcast. Just a little plug.
Thanks. Appreciate it, man.
You
Hey,
bet.
if you want my jersey, I'm making referee ones.
Yeah. There you go. Hey, join us, Rock.
Number 5, baby. I think you should.
Join us.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thanks for having us. Much
Hey, thank
appreciated.
you. Thank you very much. Take care, gentlemen.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Take care.